this episode, we're going to tackle the best way to embrace purpose.
Yeah, we are. And with my wife as a special guest, you're not really, you're like the secondary special guest, but you're my special guest.
That's good.
And
Ramona.
my special guest, author of The Awkward List, all the way from Oklahoma, Tyler Schuetze.
I'm back. So with your wife being here, let's kick it off this way. Let's go around the table answering, do you believe in the one, Joe?
No. I tell her all the time, no. She would have married the first like decent Christian guy that came into her life and proposed. It just happened to be me.
Oh,
I think
man.
And I wasn't even that decent. But yeah, like, no, she would have married any Christian dude.
I think
It's really-
he's
really the
wrong
dice
in
on
that
that one.
assumption.
Yeah.
First of all, that theory is wrong.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit not nice.
Aww.
The first decent, good-looking Christian
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
Yeah.
Let's wait for the first good
Do
looking
you believe
guy.
in the one, Mona?
That is a hard question.
That's a no. She's trying to think of a nice way to say it.
I would probably say I think there can be the one, and I think there are most probably times when there's not just one.
So there's more than one. All right, we got a little
question
Mormonism
is-
on here.
The question is, when you find one, should you keep exploring for others?
That's right.
Can I
That's the
find
real
this
big problem.
Yeah.
No.
My wife's not watching this, by the way, so I'm in the clear.
I think. Well, good. Then you had the four. No, the one is the one you marry.
Yes.
They
and-
become the one.
Yeah, and no matter what one you pick, it's hard work, whichever one it is.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
just get ready for hard work or don't get married.
So Zach, I want to confirm, you believe Caitlin is not the one.
Well, she is now the one you
Okay,
marry.
there we
Is
go.
the
All right.
one.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So here's why I asked this, because I feel like a lot of people have the big concept of the one, and that's, I feel like Christian or not Christian, but especially in the Christian community of you're trying to find that one. You're praying for that one out there because you're going to find them, and that's like 7 or 8 billion people, and they always happen to be living in your hometown, and you find them, and it's all downhill from there. It's all good. And it's kind of like this awkward checklist you have to do. God gave me the one out there. Now it's a scavenger hunt, and I'm going to go find that one out of all of them and do the thing. But like y'all said, I think it is a lot more of that. I don't know what y'all did after you got married. I did the thing.
This is
I was talking about marriage, but
Okay.
y'all dirty. But no, it is more in that choice of who do you choose to be that one. You pick them, and then they are that one. I think purpose works a very similar way. Mona's still trying to turn this to a different podcast.
I don't even think you're desperately trying to bring this back to purpose, and we really haven't even set up the topic here.
I mean,
now
I'm
Mona-
going wherever it goes.
Mona's a sheathen. She's just thinking about doing the thing.
Okay, at this point,
Bring it in, Joe.
all somebody knows is they clicked on an episode that was supposed to be about purpose, and now they're questioning their marriages and dating relationships.
And I hope your purpose. Yes.
Yes.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but I think purpose acts similar. Is there like a checklist like the one out there for your purpose? You need to go accomplish these things in life, and then you've won. You have purpose.
Like there's
Or
this
is it a
one
different
specific
way?
job for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Or this one specific place.
Christians call it
And
a
if I
calling.
do something wrong, then I'm going to mess all of that up and never live up to my purpose or my potential.
I think that's the whole like concept of this is your destiny, and you got to find your destiny, and you don't want to miss your destiny, and all of those things. So
In the same thought, I watched The Butterfly Effect as a middle schooler, high schooler, and it messed me up.
It shows.
Because every action or every inaction, I was constantly thinking like, am I going to mess this all up? Am I going to mess up this calling or this plan or this purpose? I
Yeah.
feel you.
Okay, this is good, but let me zoom out for just a second. First of all, Taylor, I just called you Taylor. Tyler. Tyler Schuetze. You just wrote a book called The Awkward List.
You said that.
So we're excited about that. All right. We said that, but it was in the last episode.
You don't think they're watching?
This is a new episode.
We've got loyal
we
fans
literally
here.
cut
Tyler
the camera. Everybody went to a bathroom break.
I introduced Tyler as the author of The Awkward List.
Oh,
Okay.
gosh.
Yeah, but you did
Hi,
that.
my name is
over-
Tyler Schuetze, author of The Awkward List. Find it on Amazon.
Oh, what is the purpose of this episode?
This is gone
Back to you, Joe.
bonkers.
Okay, this is probably where we should cut and just start over.
I think so.
But we
It's
can't.
just
That's
getting
more
good.
editing time that we can't pay these guys for. We're just gonna push through.
I think they might have.
Sometimes you got to push through to purpose when things get difficult.
Oh,
Somebody redeem this. Come on.
Okay,
I
am.
Two
But,
for two.
Most people don't watch us; they listen to us. Don't go to our YouTube channel. You heard me say that. Don't go to our YouTube channel. It's kind of like, your grandma's closet. We don't even know what's in there most of the time.
You can see the tears.
And you go in there and you're like, man, this is great content. How come content? How come nobody watches it? It's because we don't. It's just we cram videos in there and do nothing with them. We tell nobody about our YouTube channel. And so it really is our archive of things we've experimented with, and we don't care who watches it or not. But these podcasts are a lot of fun, and people are getting something out of them. So let's help them get something out of this podcast. Okay, if they haven't tuned us out already, I think we're going to hone in on the practical nature around finding and applying purpose. What does that look like? And Tyler, in your book, you've done a great job of giving people a step-by-step process and ways to do that. So let's zoom out and let's talk about where we often mess up. So your premise, as you were saying, this idea of purpose, verb, noun, adjective, where do we go off? Where do we get wrong when we think about purpose?
no, for sure. I mean, I think that a lot of people have the idea that there's the divine checklist that you got to go meet and do certain things so that you have purpose. You're either a failure or you're a winner. Have you done the thing? Have you not done it? Mm-hmm. And that's where, you were talking about, is it a noun? Is it a verb? Is it whatever? I think purpose is a noun. It is a person, not what you do. What you do is all about a byproduct of who you are. And I think ultimately purpose comes from the one who gives all purpose. I think it comes from God. And I think ultimately he's not needing a bunch of little worker bees to go do the things that he could do himself. I think he's trying to have a type of people that are his family. And that's a lot of the analogies he uses. And so it's about a people who do things that with purpose rather than trying to do a bunch of purposeful things.
Okay, so drilling in on this definition of purpose. Is purpose synonymous with calling?
Every time I've heard of it has been in the church world.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, should it be synonymous with calling?
I think not exactly. I mean, at least in the way that it's usually presented and used, that you have this calling that I've heard a lot of people phrase it as, I feel like my calling is to write a book. It is to be an artist, is to whatever it is. And it sounds to me like when they're saying that if they derail from that, if things don't turn out the way that they were either told it's going to be or the way they intended to be, then they've missed their calling. It's like, oh man, are you just like thrown out? Mm-hmm. That sounds awful. That sounds terrifying.
Would it be fair to describe a calling as potentially a mini purpose? And it's an optional mini purpose at that.
Yeah.
A side quest.
Yeah, no, I think
side quest.
yeah, it's a choose your adventure story.
Yes.
I absolutely think so. And I think, going after those things are huge. And I think God can even gear us towards certain emphasis in life, side quests. But I think a lot of people get really wrapped up and very, very fearful or oriented towards what am I supposed to be doing in life instead of who am I supposed to be. I think that kind of misses the main drive, the main point. I mean, isn't that what Jesus like railed against, like these Pharisees? And Pharisee was really just like the teacher of the law. They were like the people who were actually doing what God said, like to the T in the law. But he said, no, wait, you're missing the point. You're like the farthest away from me, from God. So it's like, I think there's something to that. Are we doing the right things, but missing the entire point in it all? For me, that's a scary thought. Like, wait, what if I did everything right, but I did everything wrong because I wasn't that kind of person?
That's real. Okay, so that's kind of like the church world and clarifying definitions there. Then you have like the hippity dippity like Austin spiritual world.
Oh yeah,
where it's like purpose is not the destination, it's the journey. So would you agree with that?
I think the Austin hippies hit a little bit closer to the biblical definition. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the overflow of who you are. And, well, for me, it's like the idea of one day God's making this big old promise that he's going to wipe away every tear and I'm going to wipe away all the injustices and the evils of the world. But from a Christian standpoint, I'm supposed to be going out and wiping out these evils and helping God, slay demons and all that good stuff. Yeah, side quests. And so wait, after that's done, the hell do I do in heaven? It's like, wait, did you just get rid of all my side quests, all this journey? What do I do there? Just sit in the pew and listen to the pastor in heaven? That sounds
You can tell you're going
terrible.
to Baptist heaven.
Yeah.
Because there's pews, but
It sounds really boring. It feels it sounds like that's purposeless, and I think that's from a bad vantage point on what purpose is and what God's intention is for us.
Well, I do think, though, that we see evidence of Christ saying, hey, some of you are going to go out and you're going to be apostles. Some of you are going to go out and you're going to be teachers. Some of you are going to go out and you're going to be disciplers, So it does seem, he gave Adam purpose, I want you to go and multiply. And so
I received that.
Seems like there are times when he is calling out purpose in people, and it is with doing words, So I hear what you're saying. At the same time, I think, was he saying those things knowing that these would just be expressions of the work that he was going to do that with them? Is it sometimes that you have to start doing something in order for that shaping to actually start happening? I think a lot of times it's through the doing that our character does get built, and so we get built more into this person of purpose, and it starts unfolding other things that we might have as part of our purpose, So sometimes I feel like the journey is really it's relying on us doing something, and so I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing to start somewhere and start doing and feeling like, okay, this is my purpose right now. This is an expression. I'm going to live out who I am. This is the best expression of how I can live what's been worked in me so far, and for right now, this is the purpose that I have. But I think it's a matter of what I hear you saying is there's a danger in it being where you find your value, and it being concrete, like cemented. There's no other change from this one,
For sure. And I think it's like you're saying, because I think you hit it on the head, like purpose does result in action. It is your identity in action and lived out. It's an expression of who you are. And I think what a lot of times we do is it can be like cart before the horse. Like if I perform these actions, then I will have an identity of someone's not that you said these like different identities that God gives as far as like your pastoral, your evangelist, you are, and whatever that looks like, that you aren't unless you actually go out and do these things. Not that it springs from, hey, I've already given you this identity, now go live that out. Do what you were meant to do and let that live. Because I agree. Yeah, if this doesn't result in action, you're not actually living that identity. Identity has to be pushed out into real world situations.
Yeah, we talk a lot about purpose and our unique design and how we live that purpose out in the world. And I've always thought like we're so intricately crafted by a maker that reveals like value. Like things that are intricate in design usually cost a lot of money. They're more expensive. So you each have value. They also reveal purpose, because certain things are crafted in a certain way to accomplish a certain purpose. So every person listening to this has that unique purpose that's for them in this specific time and place that they can start living out. That's one of the things that I loved about your book, and one of the takeaways was that even in the seemingly like awkward or meaningless moments, you can find purpose. That those foreshadow purpose and begin to unpack those moments as God is moving you to something else. Why are you looking at me like...
You're doing a great job. Keep preach.
So I like this idea of in my mind, framing purpose as you put it, Tyler, a byproduct of existing well, right? So how do we, what are things we feel like, even if it is a byproduct of our actions and what we're doing, a lot of times it comes down to, what are we smiling at?
I'm sorry. I was still picturing you crying from your own joke earlier.
Yeah, but do I still have a tear? I feel like I still have a tear in my eye.
There. Yeah.
It was. Is it still?
You get.
I'm good. All right.
Come down later.
What? These are lofty ideas. I love them. Let's get practical with them.
Yeah.
What is somebody, like most people who end up questioning their purpose, what they're doing, are they involved in the right things? However, how do we handle this in a healthy way? How should we think about purpose, and what do we do?
Yeah, like how do you start figuring out what your purpose is?
Or just
No,
Let's
I
get
mean,
practical
so I
with it.
think
Yeah.
on the practical side, like one thing Mona said is you start learning what your identity is by doing. And I think that's super, super valid. That shouldn't ultimately form who your identity is, but you start revealing who you are through serving others, through just being with people who are also seeking after the same thing and seeking after good things in the same way that you're serving other people with a group of people who actually have like real heart and real care. You're going to start finding and discovering new parts of your own heart and your own self that does care and what that actually looks like in action as well. Like I said, identity is lived out, but ultimately start figuring out what kind of person are you? What kind of person do you want to be? And I mean, I'd advocate what kind of person does God say you are, because it seems like he's put a lot of emphasis on the intangible things that are inside, like peace, love, patience. And for me, if you want to get practical, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to just give things away and call myself generous. I want to actually be a generous person, because if you're a generous person, then you'll give things away. You will actually love people really, really well when the time shows up. And you don't have to give enough so that you are generous and you have value. You're just doing it. You don't have to worry about the value side or did I make it? Did I do things right? It's like you were just living out who you're meant to be. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah. No, that's good. I heard recently, and I'm trying to place where it was from. I don't know. I can't source credit, so I'll take credit. But maybe it was the guy on The Office. But one of the biggest deceptions that we believe is just a shift in one letter. And instead of doing things from a place of purpose or from a place of identity, we do it for identity, or we do it for purpose.
Yeah.
And that's something that's just been rattling around in my mind, like having the self-awareness to recognize, am I doing this to try and achieve? Like, am I always striving, or am I doing it from a place where I'm already in community, I already have value, I have purpose, and I'm just further stepping into that?
Yeah, if you really want a real world example of why I even want to bring this up, is it is my own angst and insecurity and existential crisis that I'm always going through, because I am a 30-year-old emo kid still. And so even as I'm writing the book, it started off with, hey, I feel like I have good content that I would love to share with other people and I think is important, and I want to see, can I actually write this book and share it with a few people around me. Then I actually get to the point of I'm writing it, I've got this physical book, and then all my angst and insecurity comes in, like, well, how well is it going to do? What is it going to sell? Is it going to be known? Is it going to be recognized or get a review? Is it going to be big? Have I done anything, or did I just make a $15 joke that everyone's going to know? And instead of it being about that natural overflow of I care about people and I want to share wisdom that's going to help people find their purpose, identity, all that, I let my own insecurities creep back in, because that's the thing that always is the battle is am I enough? Am I fit for what I'm doing? Or did I just make a 50,000 word joke, like I said? And I keep on having to remind myself and even go back in my own words in there of, no, just do this because it's part of me and what I care about is important. And if it gets to one person, it helps. If it gets to 50,000 people, and helps, in the end, just do it. Let the results be the results. I'm going to push hard with it either way, but that doesn't define who I am or if I'm worthy or any of that other stuff. It might define if people think I'm a great author, but in the end, that's not near as important as me living out, being generous and caring for other people, which is what I want to try and do. But I always struggle with the selfish side of, how am I seen? Did I make it?
Yeah, and the results, there's so much of it that's out of our control, right? I think this is where you see a lot of parents, especially moms, I think, who can really struggle with, they try to make sure that they're raising their kids in a godly home, that they're spending time with them, but they've got them in sports, they've got them super well-rounded, that they're doing bedtime prayers with them, they're making sure they're discipling them, they're doing all these things. Part of it is because it's who they are, but also part of it is because they have a sense of stewardship for their child. They're trying to make sure that they're supplying them with everything that they need so that they can, grow up to be the godly people that they really want them to be and desire them to know the Lord and all that good stuff. But then at the end of the day, there's no guarantee that those kids are going to have the same relationship with God that you have. You can't make that happen. And so if you based whether or not you hit your purpose, that you achieved your goal based on their results, you're going to feel like, man, what
yeah.
you're going to be super disheartened with what you did with your life, because you're going to be like, I gave up work, or I did all of this, and I have nothing to show for it,
Or comparing yourself to the person next to you who looks like they've done more of the right Christian things or the right good things. And of course, like, yes, it's good to do good things and be a good person, but in the end, not everyone has those same options. Are we saying that the kid in the third world country who doesn't have any money to travel to become that missionary or to give and look generous is more disqualified because they don't have that than the rich hipster Christian here who can't afford to go travel all the nations in 6 months kind of thing? It's like, no, I don't think they lack purpose. I don't think the single mom who is raising a kid and can't do all these external things that look super holy has any purpose. She has purpose in raising her kid. I think the guy who can't, who can barely make it through what he's going through with tragedy in life or anything else, he has purpose in having patience, still just bearing down, having faith during that season. You don't have less purpose just because it's not as flashy or doesn't look like you've hit that check mark enough.
Yeah. So the first book to read if you want to discover your purpose is probably The Purpose Project. Mm-hmm. But the second book is probably The Awkward List. And the third book that was formative for me on this was Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And he spoke to that beautifully. Like he was in Nazi concentration camps. He lost all of his family. And he saw two different types of people. The people that could find purpose in suffering and those who just gave up. And he said, ultimately, if you can find purpose in suffering, then you can survive. Like, you can overcome.
Yeah.
And so he encouraged people to do that across the board. And that's actually way more powerful than happiness or anything else.
Oh, yeah. And it's all about having, again, that identity. Do you live out purpose in everything you do because that's who you are? Or, are you just trying to do the to-do list? And I think that's what we need to do is scrap the to-do list as a qualifier for am I living right? And just use it as this is what I want to do because that I actually care. No obligation. I'm just going to do it because that's who I am.
So maybe if we, here's the way I'm framing some of this conversation. So I like the idea of being tactical and strategic with your design and your gifts as it relates to really what we're referring to as these side quests or mini callings, right? Like, go for it. God's given us that freedom. So understand yourself, understand your passions, and see the opportunities before you. And if those things align, go for it. But the result of those side quests in no way has any sort of negative impact on your purpose. And I feel like, so as someone who is entrepreneurial by nature, that started a nonprofit with these big aspirations and dreams, like I really want to impact people. I really want to see 24/7 centers, community centers come back to life in different ways. And I've got all these different visions of the way that might happen. And there's days where I feel like that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm looking at the things that I'm doing and I don't have enough money to do X, Y, and Z. And I feel like it feels like I'm failing my purpose. Right? But then I have to move to a healthier state and understanding of purpose. I have to go back to Scripture in the Bible, and I have to understand why I'm here in the first place. Like, God, what is the purpose of our existence on this earth, and who are we to be while we're here? And when I realign back to Jesus and say, I am supposed to be your ambassador, represent you in all I do here on earth, and mimic what you did in a lot of ways, then I can do that. And I have freedom to do that in a lot of different ways. So then I go back and I reevaluate everything. Know that the mission of Catalyst, the side quest of Catalyst, isn't where I want it to be, and maybe it never will be, but am I aligned to you, Jesus? Am I fulfilling your purpose by mimicking your character and being who you want me to be on this earth? If so, then I am living and breathing, and I am aligned to my true purpose. Everything else is,
and I think
you
right? See this in the Bible, because you all have read the acknowledgement section of the Bible, right? It's right in the middle of the Gospels. No, right in the middle. Jesus is just sitting there kicking back and observing the temple, and this old lady comes up and throws a couple pennies into the fund, and he's leaning over to John saying that one, when you write the Bible someday, put her down, because everyone, I mean, this is his quote. It's like, everyone's going to remember her for pretty much the rest of eternity for what she did right there. And she was clueless. She put in a couple pennies and probably went home hungry because she had nothing. And it's not because she funded the temple that day. The temple could have been...
She probably didn't think her calling was giving, or that her purpose was to fund anything.
Yeah,
There's something deeper going on
right.
there.
She's existing well right now because, the temple didn't need her copper coins.
Yeah. So if anything, it sounds like a big takeaway from this is a challenge to really reset what we think about, how we think about success.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not just purpose, but success. Like you fill out this statement. I feel successful when fill in the blank, right? And if you're going to fill in that blank with something that doesn't align back to the big picture reason that Jesus has you alive here on this earth, then you're off. You're missing it. You're going to set yourself up for disappointment.
Honestly, I think not even just why you're on this earth right now, but what about after? I mean, it's like, again, I don't think that everything gets completely boring and life is pointless after, but say everything was removed and you don't have to do the things. If you're not feeling successful from the things that would still last after, then maybe you need to realign, because we're still going to go, we got the rest of eternity. I don't think it's meant to be boring. So I feel successful when I'm generous, or I'm giving, or I'm loving well, or I'm whatever it is, because that stuff I think continues without the need for that specific challenge in there, because the challenges will change, the times will change, the needs will change. Find success in things that won't.
All right, so practical ways to take next steps. If you're somebody that is on this journey trying to wrestle with these ideas of purpose, getting clarity, confidence around your sense of identity, purpose, and belonging on this earth, we definitely want you to check out Tyler's book, The Awkward List. And we shared this, and I want to share a similar offer. Thank you for setting that up, Zach. I can zoom in on that Awkward List. Such a pretty cover.
Zach colored it himself.
Yeah. So if you purchase The Awkward List, send us proof of that purchase, because what we want to do is we want to bless you with 50% off of the Purpose Project. So in other words, you're going to spend $15 on a book, and we're going to return that with $80 off, spending an hour and a half with our certified guides, going through your unique design, how you're wired, and all these potential side quests that might give you clarity and focus on the things that you could do to make an impact, but still remain grounded in the big picture purpose of who you are. And I feel like that's part of what God wants us all to feel on this earth, is that clarity of saying, hey, you are my son, you are my daughter, this is who you are, and that's never going to change no matter what you do, right? And I feel like some people need that reset, and that's part of what we're going to take you through these Purpose Project workshops. So the website for that is purposepro.org, but buy the book first and then reach out to us, purposepro.org, and we'll set something up with you, because our whole goal of doing this is to help people align with who they are in God's eyes, who God sees them as, and then how to maximize their time here on earth.
Yeah. Here would be the worst thing. If you listen to the acknowledgement section and you just think, if I just throw in my 2 pennies, I'm just going to be like her. You're actually living her purpose at that point. God has something unique for each of you using your gifts and your design. And so let's unlock that through the Awkward List and through the Purpose Project.
Yeah.
The world needs it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks for being here, honey. Thank you for
Mona.
Another podcast. You got one more in you. You guys stay tuned for this. Oh my goodness, you got one more in you.
Got this.
This you're done.
You do it?
We'll see.
We
We'll
sign her up
see.
for it.
Wait,
It's in your contract. You got to do a third
what
one.
kind of sandwich was it? Dasani. What kind of sandwich did you throw at the homeless guy?
Oh my gosh. Are we still talking about this? No. So embarrassing.
To be continued.
Can't
To
believe
be
you said that.
continued. It'll be a whole nother podcast.
Find out next
Good.
episode.